I'm 36 years old. I work as a compliance consultant for multinational firms, and I live in Rotterdam. I'd been estranged from my parents and 2 siblings for almost 3 years before that day in court, though estranged makes it sound mutual. It wasn't. I'd slowly been pushed out, erased, reduced to someone they contacted only when money was involved. My family and I used to be close, or at least, I believed we were. We shared holidays, birthdays, long dinners where my father spoke and everyone else nodded. I was the quiet one. The reliable one. The one who paid for things without announcing it. For over a decade, that was my role. The distance didn't arrive with shouting or slammed doors. It arrived through silence. Missed calls. Invitations that came late or not at all. Decisions made without me. When my younger brother lost his job, my parents asked me to help out. When my sister's marriage failed, they hinted that I should contribute to her legal fees. Every time, it was framed as family duty. And every time, I complied. The betrayal didn't feel like betrayal at first. It felt like obligation. The real fracture began when my father suffered a mild stroke. I flew in immediately. I paid for private care. I rearranged my work schedule. But while I was there, I noticed something shift. Conversations stopped when I entered rooms. My mother watched me the way one watches a stranger who knows too much. My brother began referring to my support as temporary, even though no one had discussed an end. A week later, my father recovered enough to speak clearly. He called me into his study. Didn't ask me to sit. "You've done well for yourself," he said. I nodded, unsure where this was going. "It's time you give back properly." I waited. "We want you to sign over your assets," he continued. "Not all at once. Gradually. To the family trust." I laughed, because I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. They wanted control. Over what I earned. What I owned. What I built. Not because they needed it, but because they believed it was already theirs. I refused. Calmly. Respectfully. That was my mistake. After that, I became the villain. I was accused of greed. Of abandonment. Of forgetting where I came from. My sister sent a message that ended with, "We don't recognize you anymore." My brother stopped answering calls. My mother cried into the phone and told relatives I'd turned my back on the family. 3 months later, I was served court papers. They were suing me. For financial compensation. For unjust enrichment. For assets they claimed I'd acquired using family resources, a phrase vague enough to sound convincing and hollow enough to be dangerous. The humiliation wasn't just legal, it was personal. Extended family stopped speaking to me. Old friends asked careful questions, as if I might be hiding something. I was advised, quietly, to settle. To give them something. To end it. But something inside me had already broken. The confrontation happened in mediation first. A long table. Neutral walls. My parents across from me. My brother beside them, arms crossed. "You owe us," my mother said, without emotion. "For what?" I asked. "For who you are," my father replied. "Without us, you'd be nothing." That was the moment. Not anger. Not rage. Just a cold clarity. I realized I had been shrinking myself for years to stay acceptable. That my generosity had been interpreted as weakness. That my silence had been taken as consent. The case went to court. They arrived confident. They brought spreadsheets. Statements. Stories about sacrifices they'd made, investments they'd supported. Their lawyer spoke about fairness and moral obligation. When it was my turn, I didn't speak much. My lawyer did. Calm. Precise. Then the judge asked for my financial disclosure. I handed it over. I watched their faces change as the numbers were read. Not because I was wealthy in some dramatic, fictional way, but because everything they assumed was wrong. They believed I'd accumulated my success with their help. In reality, most of my assets were held in structures they'd never known existed. Investments made quietly. Properties registered through holding companies. Savings grown steadily, not spectacularly, but independently. assets they had no claim to. The judge looked up, asked a question. My lawyer answered. My mother's hand trembled. My brother leaned forward, confused. My father stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Their case unraveled not with a bang, but with a procedural dismissal. No entitlement. No shared ownership. No evidence. They lost. Outside the courtroom, my mother approached me. Her voice was small. You didn't have to do this. I looked at her. Really looked. I didn't, I said. You chose to. I walked away without another word. The aftermath wasn't dramatic. There were no apologies. No realizations. Just distance. Silence. The same emptiness, but cleaner now. Honest. I didn't win a family back. I didn't want to anymore. What I gained was quieter. Self-respect. The understanding that love doesn't demand surrender. That generosity without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. That dignity isn't loud, it's firm. If there's a lesson in this, it's not about money or courts or winning. It's this. If someone believes they are entitled to your life simply because they were once close to you, they are not asking for connection. They are asking for control. And you are allowed to say no.